What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats of every one of the weapons in Modern Warfare. And in today's episode, by popular request, we're going to be covering the AK-47. First up, as always, let's have a look at the damage profile. And with the AK, we get a base damage of 35-32, however, we also get an upper torso multiplier that makes our damage 42-38. Keep in mind, this is just upper torso, unlike the SMGs, which have an entire torso multiplier, so you do have to hit him in the chest for this. And this means, if you're hitting those upper torso shots, this is a 3-shot kill at all ranges. As for headshots, we get a pretty standard headshot multiplier for assault rifles at 1.6, and this means our headshot damage profile is 56-51, which means at all ranges, you can get a 2-shot kill to the head with the AK. As for our rate of fire, this is a little bit on the slow side at 561 rounds per minute, and this means our statistical minimum time to kill in the 3-shot kill range is 214 milliseconds, and it drops all the way off to 321 milliseconds in the 4-shot kill range. So a big thing to keep in mind here is because of that pretty slow fire rate, this is not a very forgiving gun if you're missing shots consistently. Moving on to our ranges, as you can see here, our standard 3-shot kill range, which applies to anywhere in the body, you could shoot them in the toe if you wanted, that 3-shot kill range extends out to about 28 meters. And then beyond that, it will be a 4-shot kill unless you're hitting upper torso shots, in which case it will still be a 3-shot kill. When it comes to suppressors, the lightweight suppressor will reduce our ranges by 25%, and the monolithic suppressor will increase our ranges by 7.5%. As for hardcore, good news, the AK-47 will be a 1-shot kill at all ranges, anywhere in the body, as long as you're not shooting through cover. Getting into our hipfire spread, it's pretty standard for assault rifles, and not too bad actually. As for idle sway, as you can see here, there's a little bit of idle sway. This is pretty standard for the assault rifle category. Generally speaking, it's pretty accurate in this department. Speaking of accuracy though, let's have a look at the recoil with the AK, and this is one of the downsides of this gun. It kicks pretty strongly upwards, but it's also not very predictable as it kicks upwards. Sometimes it will zigzag a little bit, it will kick slightly to the right or slightly to the left, and that's the part that can really throw you off with this. Also, you might notice there's a pretty big jump between shots within the first few shots that you fire, and this can really throw you off target quickly. And like I said, this is one of the worst parts about the AK. But moving into the handling stats, our aim down sight time isn't really great at 300 milliseconds. But our sprint out time is standard for the assault rifle category at 267 milliseconds. And our super sprint out time is also standard for the assault rifles at 400 milliseconds. Our magazine capacity is pretty standard at 30 rounds with 60 in reserve. And our reload add time is very fast with the AK at just 1.17 seconds. This is the best in the assault rifle category, and you don't really need sleight of hand, but if you wanted to use sleight of hand, you could cut that all the way down to 0.8 seconds. So reloading is definitely one of the strong suits with the AK. As for mobility, our movement speed is a little bit on the slow side for assault rifles, but not quite as slow as LMGs at 93%, and our aim down sight strafe speed is also a bit slow compared to a bunch of the other assault rifles at 45%. So that pretty much covers it for the base stats, but now let's move into the unique attachments that the AK-47 has. And first off, let's get into the barrels, and the first one is the Spetsnaz Elite barrel. With this one, we get an increase to our damage range, and this increase is 20%, which is pretty nice to have. We also get improved bullet velocity, so that's going to help hitting moving targets at longer ranges. However, both of those come at the downside of a very slightly slower aim down sight time. This is about 5% slower, or this is about 5% or 1 frame slower. Overall, it's not a bad barrel by any means. As long as you're using some other attachments, it will offset the reduction to your aim down sight time, because your base aim down sight time is already pretty slow, so you generally don't want to make it much slower than it already is. The next barrel we have is the 23-inch RPK barrel, and with this one we get a 35% increase to our damage range, so a little bit better than the Spetsnaz barrel. We also do get that added bullet velocity, which is great to have, and on top of that, we do get an improvement to our recoil control, which, if we have a look at it right here, you can definitely notice the recoil is cut down by a decent amount, both on the first few shots that you're firing, which is really important, as well as the total magnitude of the recoil when firing a whole magazine. So definitely some great upsides with the RPK barrel. Unfortunately though, this one will slow your aim down sight speed by about 17% or 3 frames, which is very noticeable. And on top of that, your overall movement speed will be slowed down by roughly 3%, which again, that is a pretty noticeable reduction to your movement speed. Moving on to the next barrel, this is the 8.1 inch compact barrel, and with this, our aim down sight speed is actually improved by about 12% or 2 frames, and our overall movement speed is also improved by roughly 2%, which is definitely noticeable. Now this does come at the cost of, first off, bullet velocity, so that's going to make it more difficult to hit targets at longer ranges, especially if they're moving. And also our recoil control is reduced, which, as you can see here, you definitely see much bigger jumps in the first shots that you're firing, which are very important shots for those longer range gunfights with the AK, and our overall magnitude is also a little bit higher than without this barrel. So this is definitely a barrel that should be reserved for close to mid-range gunfights only. As for the fourth and final barrel for the AK-47, we have the 23-inch Romanian barrel. And with this one, just like with the 23-inch RPK barrel, we get a 35% increase to our damage range, which is really nice. We also still get that improved bullet velocity, which is great. And this also significantly helps with our recoil control, even more than the RPK barrel does. You can see that you get a very solid recoil pattern when using this barrel. Now, unfortunately, in exchange for that really good recoil with this barrel, you are going to be aiming down sight 22% slower, or 4 frames slower at 60 FPS, which is a pretty massive decrease to your aim down sight speed. On top of that, we also have about a 3% reduction to our movement speed. But that covers it for the barrels. Now I want to get into a couple of the other unique attachments. First off, we have the skeleton stock, and this is one that we've also seen on the M13, and with this, we get a lot of really good benefits. First off, our aim down sight speed will improve by about 12%, or 2 frames faster at 60 FPS, which is a really nice boost. Also, our movement speed is massively increased by about 9%, and this will actually take your movement speed over 100%, so you actually move faster with this gun, with the skeleton stock, than you do with a pistol in your hands. Additionally, our aim down sight stray speed is also improved by about 10%, which is again a very big jump when it comes to movement speed. You'll definitely notice this. So lots of great benefits, and the only downside is you lose aiming stability, so you're going to have slightly higher idle sway. The skeleton stock is one of the best attachments in this entire game, and there's really no reason for you to not be using this on your AK-47 classes. As for the next unique attachment, this is the 40-round extended mag attachment, and with this one, obviously, you get a 40-round mag instead of a 30-round mag. And this comes at the cost of a slight reduction to your aim down sight time. It'll reduce that by about 1 frame or 6%. And also, our movement speed is slowed down just a little bit by about 1%. This is hardly noticeable. As for the next extended mag attachment, this is the 75-round drum mag attachment. And with this one, your aim down sight speed will be reduced by 2 frames instead of 1, which really isn't that big of a jump. However, your movement speed is reduced by about 9%. This will make you slower than all of the LMGs in the game, and this is why I generally don't recommend this attachment. It's just not worth it for the extra 35 rounds. You've got an amazing reload speed with the AK-47, so the upsides of this massive magazine just aren't worth the downsides. And with that, that's finally going to bring us to the conversion for the AK-47. This is the ammo conversion to the 545x39, and this changes quite a bit with the gun. First off, our entire damage profile is completely different. We get a base damage of 26-22, which means it's going to be a 4 to 5 shot kill, but we do also get the upper torso multiplier of 1.2, which gives us an upper torso damage profile of 31-26, which means it's still going to be a 4-shot kill up close, but it will also be a 4-shot kill at longer ranges, assuming you're hitting them in the torso. As for our headshot damage, this is still standard at 1.6, which means we get a headshot damage profile of 42-35. This means up close, if you mix 2 upper torso shots with 1 headshot, you will be getting a 3-shot kill, which is great. Now, in addition to damage, our rate of fire is also completely reworked, and it's improved by quite a bit. It's 690 rounds per minute with this conversion, and this means our statistical minimum time to kill is 261 milliseconds in the 4-shot kill range, and 348 milliseconds in the 5-shot kill range. This really isn't an exceptional time to kill by any means. It's actually a little bit below average. As for our ranges, as you can see here, our 4-shot kill range is actually better than the 3-shot kill range without the conversion kit. So it actually stretches out pretty far, and keep in mind, if you're hitting all upper torso shots, you'll get that 4-shot kill out to an infinite range. Now, another thing that's adjusted with this conversion is your recoil. And as you can see here, it might look pretty similar in the recoil department when you just see it firing, but when you compare it side by side to the base 7.62x39, you will notice that for the first few shots, you don't have that massive recoil anymore, and this is huge. This makes a huge difference in hitting those first shots accurately, and those first shots are what count the most. So I would say this is actually considerably more accurate than the standard 7.62x39. So if you are thinking about using this conversion, you definitely get some upsides like rate of fire, so the gun's a bit more forgiving if you miss shots, plus your recoil is improved. However, you are also trading off a lot of the power. Your time to kill isn't going to be as good as the base AK-47. As a result, I actually find myself leaning away from this conversion kit. It's fun for a change of pace, and it's still a pretty decent gun, but it's just not quite as good overall, in my opinion, as the standard AK-47. But with that, it's finally time to move into some great attachment combinations as well as example class setups. And first up, this right here is my preferred attachment combo at the moment with the AK-47. With this, we've got the compensator combined with the Merc foregrip just to really control our recoil as much as possible. This really does cut down on your recoil a lot when you combine these two. Also, we've got the skeleton stock, which is just a given. I highly recommend that you run the skeleton stock on every single AK setup that you can, just because it has so many awesome benefits with very little downside. We've also got the stippled grip, which is going to help with our aim down sight time a little bit, but also our sprint out time, which is great. And finally, the 40 round extended mag attachment, just because it's nice to have a few extra rounds in the mag if you're dealing with several enemies at once, plus it gives you a bit more total starting ammo, and the downsides really aren't that bad with this. So like I said, this is my preferred attachment combo at the moment with the AK. It is just so versatile. You can challenge people quite comfortably up close because you have great handling and mobility properties with this. But at the same time, with that recoil reduction, you can really stretch out and challenge people at longer ranges just fine. Taking this into an example class setup, we've got the Desert Eagle as our secondary here. We've got the EOD perk to help with explosives, Ghost just to keep us from pinging on the radar when the enemy has a UAV up, as long as we're not firing our gun, and also Shrapnel with Thermite, because I really like playing ground war, and that's excellent for dealing with tanks. And finally, we have the Stim Shot as our tactical. I've really been liking the Stim Shot lately, so you're going to see that popping up on a lot more of my classes. Moving on to the second attachment combo that I have for you guys. This one's designed more for picking people off at longer ranges. So with this, we've once again got the compensator because that's the best muzzle attachment for reducing your vertical recoil. We've also got the 23-inch Romanian barrel, which is going to extend our range and more importantly, really cut down on our recoil, which is great. We've got the GI mini reflex for our optic, and once again, the skeleton stock, of course. And finally, the stippled grip tape to help with aim down sight as well as sprint out times. Taking this into an example class setup, once again, we've got EOD. We've also got kill chain on this one because you're really going to be hanging back. So this is really good for going on longer streaks. And we've got shrapnel combined with some claymores so you can set yourself up and camp in some sort of a building if you'd like. And then we've got a stun grenade for our tactical. This particular setup is definitely designed more for the really slow, campy style of play that this game tends to reward. So finally, one last attachment combo is of course going to be like an AK74u style setup. With this, we're using the 8.1-inch compact barrel, the skeleton stock, of course, the 545x39 conversion, and on top of that, we've got the monolithic suppressor as well as the 1 milliwatt laser to help with our hip fire. Taking that into an example class setup, as you can see here, this is really a flanking stealth sort of a build. You want to get up close and personal, but you also want to be able to flank the enemies. We're using a 1911 with a suppressor on that, but you can use whatever you want for your secondary. We've got EOD to deal with claymores as you approach campers, Ghost to stay off that radar to help with your flanking, and tune-up so you earn your dead silence field upgrade a bit sooner so you can flank a lot more effectively. As for a lethal, this is a Molotov, and our tactical is going to be a stun grenade so we can stun those claymores and those campers. And with that, that's finally going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the AK-47. Personally, I've actually really grown to like this gun. At first, I hated it. When you don't have some solid attachments for it, I think this is a really below average sort of a gun. But as soon as you start unlocking the right attachments, things start getting much better. And I'm actually really enjoying the AK-47 now. Of course, that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you like the AK-47? Do you think it's underpowered, overpowered, or balanced just fine? And also, if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, I will leave a link to the playlist down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.